Sports fans, what's going on? Patrick over here at Ghost Picks ATS coming at you with a free play of the day in college basketball as well as some free leans and insight into this weekend's NFL Conference Championship, both AFC and NFC. We are live, so it is working. Mainly going over the NFL recap of last weekend. I mean, maybe the best weekend of all time with football, capped by the Bills and the Chiefs, maybe the most epic game of all time. That was absolutely amazing. Chiefs pulled out a nice winner for us there. But we'll go over just about everything here. My NBA and NCAA basketball package is the big special today. Whether you're joining me live or coming in later, thanks for joining. If you like, comment, subscribe, comment anything you'd like to see out of these videos. Someone said the glare behind me last time was killing them, so plain walls this time. But anything you want to see, any props you want to talk about or anything, you can always drop in the comments or come in live and talk about those kind of things. I'm always interested and always looking at just about anything with a number. So if we could find an advantage on it, no reason not to talk about it. And listen to the people understand what's going on too, so they see things. So if you see something that's been going on or trends or anything, throw it in the chat, throw it in the comments. But we'll get on into it here with no further ado. It was a big weekend for us. Nice Sunday. Player props swept this weekend in the NFL. DFS was in the running for the money until I think about 5 minutes to go in that game between the Bills and the Chiefs. And then Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Josh Allen, just about all these kind of people who are very popular with DFS. All of them went off in the last 5 minutes of that game, overtime, and completely changed the DFS. But premium plays, Chiefs, Rams, both big winners. And then the Bengals coming out live. Hot, man. And we were on the 49ers. We split on that one. So great overall weekend. But we'll go ahead and get right on into those games with no further ado. First one out, Bengals. Woo. Bengals, Titans. My main play in that one was the Bengals second half. Did hit, even though I did say to wait until the Bengals were down 3, which they never were, so never quite even got there. So split in that game. I actually like the Titans first half. Mike Vrabel has been one of the best head coaches in the NFL, especially in the first half of games, especially coming off buys. They've scored like a 90% clip coming out of those situations. Their offense has been phenomenal, and with Derrick Henry, expect them to get after it early. I was looking for the play-action pass, which actually was pretty successful in the game. But first play of the game, Tannehill gets picked off, and the Bengals never really looked back. That was one of those games. My main thing in that game, I would have loved the Bengals, but the Bengals can't block, and Joey B struggles with pressure. He struggles with blitz mainly. Did I pick the under? I did have the under, which until was in play until 1 minute to go. We'll get into that Chiefs-Bills game here in just a little bit, but that Bengals game, Bengals move on with a huge win. Evan McPherson, maybe the best kicker in football, not named Justin Tucker, and Harrison Butker, who also hit a huge field goal. But kickers come up huge. Special teams, we saw in the 49ers and the Packers, come up huge. Bengals played absolutely phenomenal on special teams. Their defense, they had a lot of injuries on that defensive line, which will come into play next weekend again. But, man, my guy DJ Reader on the inside, I said he was going to be a presence. I loved both running backs rushing total unders in that game. Joe Mixon was a premium play. We hit on that. It was one of those games that felt hard-fought, grit and grind. Both teams really want to throw the ball, too, or should throw the ball on the opponents. Once again, Titans decided they're going to try to pound that in. And Derrick Henry was not efficient as he had been in the beginning of the year. Even though he had been getting 30 carries, 35 carries a game, going for 100 yards, those 100 yards could be, better off doing a little other things. But here nor there, Derrick Henry, he was back. He was a beast. But too many turnovers from Tannehill. The Bengals, in my opinion, they got a little lucky, but hard fought. Anytime, that's a scrappy team. And look at what they did. People doubt them and come out hot. A couple turnovers go the other way, and the Bengals win. My number one thing in that game, as I was talking about it, as far as the sports betting and looking at lines and understanding how the game's going to play out, It was Mike Vrabel's ability for disguise coverage. And we saw that all game long. I was worried about Joey B. If he doesn't make the first read correctly, the line is not good enough and he's going to get sacked. It was in my write-up. It was very detailed. And sure enough, he was wrong all game long. There was times where they were bringing 6-man pressure versus 5-man blocking. Essentially, it's one-on-one. Someone's open. You got to get rid of the ball. And he was holding the ball. He was pumping. He was sitting there. He was waiting. And that defensive line ate him alive. I said it in my write-up. It was a battle of the trenches. The Bengals defensive line versus the Titans defensive line. Both of them played absolutely phenomenal. And they're going to play a factor in this next week's game. I guarantee you the Bengals versus the Chiefs, we will see that defensive line will have to make plays on Patrick Mahomes. Beating Mahomes is going to be tough, but we'll get further into that one as well. We'll go ahead and talk about that Saturday night game between the 49ers and the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is officially home. Oof. That one was a tough one. It was all 49ers for me in that game. I love the 49ers in every way possible. Unfortunately, we split in that one as well. We had the 49ers plus the 5.5, but I love that 49ers team total over. Snow was not in the forecast. It was talking about it was going to be cold, but no snow in the forecast, no wind. Sure enough, by the second quarter, it was snowing like hell, adding another element to the game. Unfortunate there, but 49ers were in that game from start to finish, and with the help of their defense, were able to cover and win outright. That is not a team that I want to play. They are good on all dimensions. Their offense is pretty damn good. They went up and down the field multiple times against the Packers, but just could not score, whether it was a 4th down stop or a Jimmy G, which you got to expect it. A Jimmy G turnover is going to come at some point, and he made a bad one in the red zone. 49ers, I thought, really dominated that game, almost start to finish. The Packers came out the first drive, went right down the field, scored a touchdown, and then after that, I think you can count the amount of first downs they had on one hand. The 49ers front 7, some of the best in football. I said my main write-up, David Bakhtiari, one of the best tackles in football. Once he was announced out, we went ahead and fired on the 49ers. Nick Bosa was healthy. That defensive line absolutely got after Aaron Rodgers, and as they've done all year long, changed the game completely. Those defensive backs were able to press up in coverage and make sure that Devontae Adams couldn't really beat him over the top, and force Aaron Rodgers' hand. They checked down time and time again and got to him and got sacks, which led to drive killers. Sacks are drive killers. I think a defensive line is one of the most important in football. And if you look at the teams that left in this playoffs, every single one has a damn good D-line, and every single one gets after the quarterback. That's some of the most important thing in football. A comfortable quarterback sitting back in the pocket is not a good thing. As far as those 49ers go, or the Packers, as far as the Packers go, they have the number 32 special teams all year long. That is predictive. That's not something that's just all of a sudden going to change. They've struggled on all ends, whether it been kick return, punt return, punter, kicker. They've struggled everywhere, and sure enough, it comes back to bite them in the biggest way. They get beat on the field, at home, against the 49ers. A little fun fact for you, why another reason I like the 49ers, everybody's talking about Aaron Rodgers at home in Lambeau. No one has more home losses in the last 20 years than the Packers at home in Lambeau in the playoffs. Now, of course, they have to be the 1 or 2 seed or 3 seed to get those home playoff games, but still, there's no lock that they're going to win. But speaking of quarterback play, goes right on into Sunday's game, not game of the day, almost game of the day. In any other situation, it's the game of the day. We have the Rams and the Buccaneers. Almost my play of the day. It was, very, very, very close to my play of the day. But Chiefs ended up being ahead of the Rams. Rams plus the 3 points. You look at the first game of the year, it was Matt Stafford's very best game at quarterback of the entire season. Maybe the best of his career. He played phenomenal from start to finish. He picked them apart. The Bucs really stood no chance the first time around. The story was not much different the second time around. If you take away the 4 turnovers that the Rams had, the Rams dominated that game start to finish. There was no answer for the Rams, for Stafford, for the receivers. That was, the pride. I mean, I was very excited about my write-up in that one. I talked about Todd Bowles and the defense for the Buccaneers. Todd Bowles is the defensive coordinator. No one blitzes more in the NFL than Todd Bowles. It's what he builds his defense around. And no one is better against the blitz than Matt Stafford. I said it in my write-up, and you got to look for those kind of things. And whether or not Todd Bowles would continue to run man coverage against the best the best blitz quarterback in the NFL. Well, the first time around, he blitzed only like 20% of the time in that first game, which was the lowest the Buccaneers have blitzed all year long. So I kind of expected the same. But Todd Bowles doing what he does. He brought the heat all game long against Matt Stafford. And Matt Stafford, being the cerebral, smart quarterback that he is, he's able to pick these blitzes apart. He understands where the first target needs to be and where the blitz or the package needs to, or the blitz protection needs to shift to. It's one of the best things about his game, and we saw it on the game-winning play. If I wish I could bring up the clip right here and show you, but Matt Stafford, final play of the game, they look like they're in too high safety with everybody over the top. Safety starts to kind of come down into the box, and you can tell that they're changing into a blitz. They bring an all-out 6-man blitz and leave Cooper Kupp one-on-one in the slot against the safety, hits him with a little double move, and he's straight by him over the top for that game-winning pass, which set up the game-winning field goal. It was beautiful to see coming straight from the write-up, and man, love to see that kind of stuff. So Matt Stafford played a phenomenal game. That defensive line was the main reason I liked the Rams on the defensive end. When you lose Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Mike, you have Jalen Ramsey on Mike Evans. Things are tough for Tom Brady. He has Mike Evans and Gronkowski, 2 phenomenal guys. So there's no shortage of talent, but there's no excess of talent. When you have Chris Godwin on number 3 cornerback, that's the mismatch of all mismatches. And Tom Brady took advantage of it all year long. Was not able to in this game. And that's the same thing I said about Joey B and these guys. If you can get the ball out in 1 second, there's no problem. You have your receiver, you have your decision. There's no issues. The issue comes when the pressure is there. And for Aaron Donald, he was an absolute monster in that game. Leonard Floyd, that defensive line, came from all angles and brought pressure from start to finish. Really got after the quarterback and Tom Brady. If Tom Brady's not comfortable, you could he is not the same kind of guy. He needed to dump it down. He had no protection all game long, and he didn't have those receivers. And once again, it was in the write-up. Our top 2 player props of the day on Sunday were Leonard Fournette over 4.5 receptions. He finished with 9. And then Tom Brady over 27.5 completions, and he finished with 30 on 60 attempts. Honestly, if you would have told me that Tom Brady had 60 attempts, I would have told you that he was going to finish with 35, and it would have been a no sweat. But couldn't really run the ball in the Rams, and therefore had to throw it. Couldn't get the ball deep downfield, so had to resort to the short throws, as I said in the write-up, and it was beautiful. Leonard Fournette, 9 targets, 9 receptions, and Tom Brady led the way with 30 completions himself. So great one there, and leads into our game of the week, the game of the year, the Super Bowl, as I like to say, the Chiefs and the Bills. While I like the under, which did not hit, there was no game I'd rather lose in under 2, and that was just the free play. That was not a premium play, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, for the premium clients. So we had the Chiefs money line. Once it got down, the Chiefs -1, couldn't resist. So Chiefs money line was our top tier play of the day, and that did cash in a dramatic fashion. Could have happened multiple times along the way, but ended up coming down to the final play. But wow. Exactly, once again, as I said in the video, why would the under hit in a game like this? You saw how explosive those 2 teams were. They could score at the flick of a switch. But with these two teams, they played such soft coverage and protective coverage. They played two deep safety almost all game long. They allowed these teams to just nickel and dime it down the field. They allowed the short runs. They made that clock continue to run and just tick, 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 tick. We were one play away, of Josh Allen. There was an incompletion on that one. The game goes under, and that one's a winner. But instead, he throws a seed, an absolute dime to Gabriel Davis, leading to what was maybe the crazy finish in NFL history. I think it was 25 points in the final minute and a half of that game, and then the final touchdown in overtime. But, wow, unbelievable. The Chiefs, as I said, Josh Allen did not have many options in that game. If you look at his numbers, he did not play a phenomenal game the majority of the game. While he was pretty damn good, he used his legs. He could not throw the ball as successfully until the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, completely, he dominated. He was phenomenal. And I do think, I will say it now, Bills win the Super Bowl next year, 2023. Book it, Bills Super Bowl champs. That team is different. They got a will to win, and they got a quarterback unlike anything I've ever seen. He is, a couple of years ago, I said he is Cam Newton. Everything about him, he is Cam Newton. He is Cam Newton now, except with the throwing ability of the best quarterback in the NFL. Him running the football yesterday, running over people, injuring guys. If it didn't remind you of Cam Newton running the ball, then I don't know what did. And if you looked at him throwing the football, if he didn't remind you of Dan Marino or whoever the hell has a cannon, he was on the money on every throw. He threw 50-yard throws on the dot, down the seam. Still wasn't enough. That was pretty much the nuts and bolts of the write-up there. You're going against the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. He's gone to 3 straight AFC, now 4 straight AFC championships. They're unstoppable. They have the best offense maybe we've ever seen. Earlier in the year, and a lot of people, when they were talking about this game, they're talking about the let me see. Patrick has well, reading some comments here. But as far as Mahomes in the playoffs, he doesn't lose. He's never really had any bad games. Every single game he comes to play. And if you look at this season as a whole, the first 5-6 games, teams played him a completely different way than they've ever played him before. They didn't blitz one time. They played soft coverage. They made him nickel and dime it on the field. Mahomes is a legend. That guy, he wants to gunsling. He wants to do his thing. He's coming off 3 straight AFC championships. He doesn't want to settle for these 3-yard passes in game 1, 2, and 3 of the season this year. So you saw him go downfield, push it, and he got intercepted a ton. He turned the ball over, which led to the Chiefs' defense having to be on the field more. Solid defense, but when you leave him on the field for that long, the Chiefs struggle. And we saw it time after time again earlier in the season. And around week 6, right around the peak of their struggles, I think Jimmy and I were on here on a live stream, and I said, take the Chiefs to win the championship. It's Patrick Mahomes. Regular season is tough for Super Bowl hangover, yada, yada, yada. And sure enough, they are clicking. They turned it on and really have it going. So as far as the Chiefs go, looking at them next week, we'll go ahead and get on into some of the future. So NFC and AFC championship games. We'll do a little bit of talk on those, given some of the things that we just talked about here. But first, we'll go ahead and go for my NCAA basketball free play of the day. I'll repeat this later in the video as well. But if you're watching just for that, thanks for tuning in. If you could like, comment, subscribe, say thank you, say what's up, say I hate you, whatever. I appreciate all comments. I thank you for tuning in. You keep it going. But we're going to Howard and Coppin State. It's a small schools, but both of them get after it. We're talking about 2 teams that play at the fastest pace in college basketball. I think Coppin State's number 3 and Howard's top 20 themselves. Start to finish of games, they absolutely get after it. They have some of the highest pace in the NBA or in college basketball, and neither of them play defense worth a lick. We got a high total, 157.5. I'm going to go over 157.5 in Howard at Coppin State. I also like Coppin State on the money line. As bad as they are, they get after it, and Howard's defense is so bad that I think it should be a free-for-all at the rim for Coppin State. So I'll repeat that at the end of the video, but we're going over with Howard and Coppin State. Set 157.5 in college basketball, January 24th. All right, so insight into next week's games. I said it to one of my buddies, a diehard Bengals fan. I said heading into that game last night, this is the Super Bowl. Between the Bills and the Chiefs, 100% the Super Bowl. It is dramatic. It is emotional. It is everything about it, and everything came to fruition. That game was everything that you could imagine. Now we're on to next week. Usually after Super Bowl, you're on vacation. They still got to go win some football games. I think they're in a dangerous position against the Bengals, who are already a dangerous team. While I think the Bengals, look, if you were to ask me, anytime, if it was one game, one situation, Bengals versus Chiefs rematch, given what the Bengals did last time, I think the Chiefs smoke them. I don't think the Bengals can stop them. I don't think anything can happen. But any given Sunday, anybody can win, and I think this is going to be a damn good game next weekend. We've seen the Chiefs struggle with times coming out of the gate in the playoffs and then having to fight back. I would not be surprised to see that be the case next weekend. Like a first quarter Bengals money line. They're playing free. They're playing with confidence. If they come out next weekend, which they will in confidence in Kansas City before that place gets rocking, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So 2 o'clock local start time. That's a weird game, weird time. Bengals, first quarter. I would not be surprised to see that, and I would look for the Chiefs live at some point. But once again, it's going to be the same thing. Talking about the Bucks, Rams, talking about these things, there's a couple, probably about 4 things that I look for in every game. 1 is penalties, 2 is turnovers, 3 matchups, and 4 with those matchups is blitz. And how much do teams blitz versus how much do teams run cover 3 versus cover 2, cover 1, and how do quarterbacks and those teams do against those offenses. Joey B has picked apart the blitz all year long. He is the same as Matt Stafford. His numbers against the blitz are number 1, number 2, number 3, whatever, across every metric. He has dominated the blitz. You're going up against Steve Spagnuolo and the Kansas City Chiefs, who blitz more than anybody not in Tampa Bay. You have a game film off of one loss against the Bengals earlier in the year. You got to kind of wonder what they're going to do, how they're going to change it up, if they will change it up. They got beat time and time again in the first game and continued to go to it. They weren't scared to. And then in the final, the game was on the line. Chiefs have it in the bag. You got a 3rd and 30, and what are you going to run? You're going to go to a coverage, or are you going to run your zone? And sure enough, they ran the all-out blitz. Jamar Chase one-on-one down the sideline and beat him. Jamar Chase is a complete game wrecker. If he can, it's one of those things. It's crazy. All you have to do is one time. That is one of those matchups. They have such confidence. You can't really stop Jamar Chase. You're going to probably have to double him. And I could see some points going up next week. So we'll look into that one. I do kind of like the over before we get too far into that one too. So like first quarters, I don't think the quarter stats are out, but I will be looking at a little over. I don't think that's going to drop too much further. So looking at that one there. And then we got the other game, maybe just like the best game of the year here. We're going to have the 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams, round 3. Anybody knows anything about round 3, it's going to be a dog fight. These two teams match up. 49ers. It's 49ers or bust for me. They match up so well in this matchup. If there's any team, I said it from the rip, the one team that I don't want to play, if I'm any of those top seeds, I don't want to play the 49ers. Why? They have a phenomenal pass rush, and they have a phenomenal offensive line. It's sometimes, it's that simple. You either got to have an all-star quarterback, Josh Allen, Burrow, Matt Stafford. You need to have a star quarterback, or you better have a star defensive line, offensive line. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. It never has, never will. You look at the teams that have made it in the past, every single one of them. If they have a team like the 2001 Ravens with Trent Dilfer, they had a damn good offensive line, could run the ball, and had the best defense of all time. A team like the 2017 49ers or 2018 49ers with Jimmy G, who also went to the playoff, went to the Super Bowl. They just well-rounded. There were no weaknesses on that team, and this 49ers team, it really has no weaknesses. The deep coverage is without a doubt the weakest part of this team, but they've found a way to compensate. With the way they get pressure on the quarterback, it is difficult to get the ball down the field. You don't have enough time, and that is what the 49ers are built on. And that's dangerous for the 49ers and for the other teams. So if the 49ers somehow are unable to generate pressure, they get toast. They stand no chance. Those cornerbacks are done. But it hasn't been the case. Those Bosa, Armstead, those inside guys, they get pressure at the highest rate in the NFL with, on the opponent's side, Aaron Donald and the Rams. So this will be very similar, in my opinion, to the Bengals and the Titans, and that this game is going to be won in the trenches. Whoever wins that offensive line, defensive line battle will win that game. And in the past, it has been the 49ers. The 49ers have dominated this matchup because they've dominated the offensive line, defensive line. They've been bullies to the Rams. There's some things that change with time, and if you give me 2 games to, actually like 7 out of 8 times the 49ers have beat the Rams in the Shanahan-McVay era. And 7 out of 8 times, you think, eventually it's time to buy back on the other side. I'm very contrarian. I like going the opposite way. If I see something like that, I'm like, not in this case. They play bully football. They bully the Rams. I think that the 49ers get after it. Whether or not Shanahan can hold on to it in the second half is the big issue. He's shown many times that he is incompetent in the end of games. He's maybe the top 2, top 3 offensive coordinator, head coach in the game, but down the stretch he struggles and he gets conservative. Kind of exactly the same thing, both these 2 coaches. If either one of these 2 teams is down at the half, I will 100% be taking the live play on the opposite side because it's almost a given. McVay and Shanahan are 2 of the weakest coaches in the second half. I said it. Actually, I forgot about that in the Rams and the Bucs. We also had the Bucs second half. I said it. It was terrible. McVay in the first half, he was very aggressive. They threw the ball every time. At the end of the first half, he started to run the ball. Even though they were up 20-3, look, you got to still put the foot on the throat. This time, Brady, 28-3 is nothing to him. And sure enough, I said, we're going to take Bucs second half. McVay's looking conservative as hell. He came out as conservative as I've ever seen him in the second half of that game and let the Bucs right back into it with some fumbles, turnovers, and yada, yada, yada. I think that's about all we're working with today. So couple recap here, leans for next weekend. I do kind of like the over here in the Bengals and the Chiefs game. AFC Championship game, that place will be rocking. So we'll look into that a little further. Maybe just a little play to start, see where that line goes, see what's going on, because there's a couple of injuries too, which are going to come into play there. And then the 49ers. I like the 49ers early. I'll go ahead and I've already taken them. I feel confident in the 49ers. 49ers first half for a little bit as well. I think that line will come back down toward, I think it'll close at the Rams plus or -3. And if it drops to 2.5, Lord, that'll be 49ers all the way. But TBD, there's a lot of injury news. There's a lot of things going on. And as anybody who's on my premium stuff knows, I wait. The most information you can get is the best information you can get. If you're not going ahead and beating the line as soon as the line comes out, there's really no reason to rush and get to the counter with your tickets. So let's see. I think that about does it. Hell of a weekend of football. Man, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do whatever. If you have tuned in this long, I do really appreciate it. And always, I will have a promo code if you're ever sticking around this long. Let me see. Promo code, it's HOOPS20. So if you look over, or Hoops 2022. So Hoops, HOOPS 2022. You get $20 off of this. I already knocked it off $100 this week for the 2022 all-inclusive NBA and NBA regular seasons. I already knocked that off. You'll knock another $20 off with the promo code Hoops 2022. Premium content, as always, available. GhostPicksATS.com/Team Patrick. You can also, if you're on your laptops or something, you could use the QR code right below me as my face gets blurry. You can use the QR code, scan that, and it'll take you directly to my page where you can check out all the packages and whatnot. I think that about does it. For those of you who hopped on the weekend package last week, congratulations, big time. Let's go ahead and let's do it again this week. Good luck, God bless, grind on. We'll catch you back here tomorrow with some NCAA basketball. Let's roll. Oh, also, final one. Howard, Copen State over 157.5. Free play of the day. Let's get it.